All right, perfect, sir. Well, sir. Welcome back. Another week,
Yes, sir.
another day, another episode. Authentic Aim. What is it? 3 now?
Episode three.
Can we give it just a round of applause for being consistent?
Yes,
Right,
sir, bro.
right. Shout
Yes,
out got
sir.
Ron for helping us out, cause
He's
man,
gonna be on the pod soon, bro.
yeah, eventually we
Eventually.
gonna figure it out eventually.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, man. Shout out to everyone who's been a part of this, man. Everyone who's inspired us up into this point, man. I know it's only 3 episodes, but it's a lifetime to go. So,
It's a fact.
how you been, man?
I'm good, man. Been a busy week, long week.
Can we start over?
Yeah.
Okay. The only reason, because I can't see you, I think the mic is a little too high on the camera.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't want you to be the invisible man back here.
It's all good. Appreciate it.
There we go.
Gotcha. Cool.
Let me check where you at. Let me sit up.
Fix my posture, man. Sheesh.
All right. We're rolling again.
Rolling
All
again.
Right. Take two.
Nah, man. I'm doing good, bro. Let's see. It's Saturday. Was it the 13th? January 13th.
Your guess is as good as mine, boy.
Couple weeks in. But I'm good, man. It's been a good week. Refreshing. Starting some new routines for myself. So I'm good, man. How about yourself?
Man. Again, authentic game. We're gonna keep it transparent. This has been a tough week, a tough couple weeks to start the new year. Not even for anything in particular, but there's a lot that has gone on that's distracting me. And I remember I made a statement before the year went on that I was like, I'm not going to allow the devil to distract me anymore. And so, like, in this season with all the stuff I got going on, I've been trying to, I guess it's been helping me focus because I'm always reminded of that what the devil can't destroy, he will distract. So I'm always trying to, even if I have to do 5-10 different things I didn't expect to do, still trying to get back to the main thing. And so I make sure to read whatever goals I wrote. I'm like, all right, did you do this X, Y, and Z? Because I'll tell myself, oh man, I'm tired. But then I go open up my phone and like scroll on social media. It's like, all right, you open up your phone before you went to care what you said you was truly trying to prioritize. And so that's kind of been the season I'm in, especially this week. Yeah, for those who don't know, I got a car rental business, so I'm going back and forth with this shop, and it's now turning into a legal battle that I have to deal with, so it's getting kind of crazy. But, yeah, man, glory be to God for giving me the strength to continue to show up and be all I can be regardless of the situation. So that's it, man. But, all right, so third episode. Once again, man, you can never give yourself too many pats on the back, man. This is the third episode. Right, absolutely. Today we are talking about self-confidence, right? Establishing self-confidence. What does that mean? How do you navigate it, especially between the highs and lows? So, I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Matter of fact, I'm gonna rephrase it. What is your definition of success? Because I think success and self-confidence kind of go hand in hand. I know it doesn't, but I wanted to find what success means to you first.
Okay, so I wouldn't even call it a surface level answer, but just what comes to my head automatically is being able to be yourself and be happy with that, be comfortable with that. So that's my quick definition of success. Now past that, like what it means to actually be comfortable in your own skin and be proud of that person, that's a longer answer. That's kind of a lifelong journey. You know what I'm saying? So that's my definition of it. I won't complicate it too much. But if you have something that you think is a little different or...
I would say it's along the same lines. I would say that my definition of it is to be impactful. I think a lot of people tie success to materialistic things, to money, cars, clothes, whatever it is. And once again, we talked about before, it's temporary. So it's tough to tie your self-worth to something that's temporary. But even as far as success goes, I think I've seen people who have been more impactful with $20,000 than those who have $100,000. So it's like being able to maximize your resources, whoever you are, however you operate, and being able to, like I said, just have a positive impact. So that's my short definition of it.
Bro, you know what this brings me back to is I believe it was during our first podcast. We were talking about reinventing ourselves, and we were talking about serving others before ourselves. And I think that what you just kind of described reminds me of like some mentors I had coming up. And I always come back to this one person. It was a basketball coach that I had from, third grade all the way until like my junior year of high school. And what he was doing is he would come coach our practices. He would do one-on-one training with not just me, but with, other people. But it seemed like every time that he was in those practices or in those trainings, it was just, he gave it everything that he had, you know what I'm saying? And then outside of that, and granted, I don't know his, back then, his financial situation. I don't know how great he was doing or how bad he was doing, but I'm going to go with the assumption that, he was doing all right for himself, but he didn't have like this crazy business going on, or he was making the most money. But what you just said about impact, man, is like every time that he was in my presence, or I was vice versa, like I could feel that 110%. You know what I'm saying? And like you just said, some people with more money, they're not making as much of an impact, and vice versa. So I think that I just wanted to hit on that real quick, because I think that's a huge thing too, is like it doesn't take an excess amount of resources or money to make like an insane amount of impact.
Right.
So
right, yeah, no, that's good, because I actually, who was I talking to last week? Yeah, last week at a men's league game, one of the refs was talking to me, because we've been in the same circle for a little bit, but she primarily knows my brother. But she was talking about, we had gotten on the topic of training, because I told her I wasn't playing basketball no more. And she was like, yeah, at, I think it was South Mountain Community College or South whatever. Yeah. She was like, they pay her $500, bro. $500.
Is that for a certain amount of games, or?
I think that's for the season or something, bro. A week. It doesn't matter. It's still $500. It wasn't like a day. It wasn't like $500 all she said. So I'm assuming whether that was monthly or a season or whatever, it's still not a lot of money to be investing so much time as you are into a group of men and a season and travel and $500, bro. So I can only imagine what your coach was making. Yeah. But I guess so. The secondary question to that is, then what is your self confidence tied to? So we kind of define what success is, and for a lot of people, their confidence is tied to success. What is your self confidence tied to?
I would say my self-confidence is tied to, so I've said this before, and I've never really, I guess, elaborated on it, but when you're trying to figure yourself out and trying to figure out, like, like what the hell is my purpose? What am I here to do? What's the impact I'm making? I think that it's tied to writing your own story. And so, again, that's very vague, right? What does that mean, to write your own story? For me, it's meant doing things that I guess scared me the most, like going out of my comfort zone. But a lot of times those things didn't result, like when I would do them and when I would do them over a consistent basis, it would never result in me like an outcome like of having the most money, having the most friends, I guess the material stuff you're talking about, having the most clothes, like it would never result in that. The result would be like this, I guess I would describe it as this feeling, but it's weird because like self-confidence isn't just a feeling either. It's I have trouble describing it, but it's like it's based off the actions that you take consistently over time, and then I think you just become more. There's less resistance, I guess.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I feel that, because self-confidence is of course it's something you can't like touch, but it's also something like within yourself, whether it's like, all right, I'm here and I'm prepared and I'm comfortable, or like I'm completely out of my comfort zone and I don't know what's going on. So I totally understand the part where it's like it's tied to something, but it's not at the same time, because part of it is just like feeling your way through it. I think if anything new comes into your life, of course, you're not going to be confident about that or understanding, because a lot of it is unknown. But I think for me, my self-confidence is always, at least now, it's tied to impact. I think before it was tied to being able to accomplish whatever was on my mind, which is kind of what you talked about earlier, about being able to be whoever you're supposed to be in whatever situations you're in. Right. But yeah, now I think it's completely tied to impact, not even to what I may accomplish in life, like whether I'm able to buy a house or to bless homeless, whatever. It's just, am I being impactful beyond myself in whatever situation I'm in? I think that's kind of the change that is slowly start to happen over the years from when I was younger to now. But yeah, I guess is there a situation where you've felt like the self-confidence was not there at all?
I mean,
Dealing with feelings of inadequacy, how do you?
yeah, plenty of times. And it's funny because, like, I feel like we'll always somehow make this roundabout way of coming back to basketball and sports. But, I mean, it was just such a big part of our lives. So I think that when, I mean, a specific moment, I'll give you periods of time, man. Like so a lot of people, or people close to me know this, but a lot of people on the outside, they wouldn't know just because I don't talk about it much. But when I was a junior in high school at Brophy, right? For those of you that know Brophy, for those of you that don't, if you know, you know. You know what I'm saying? Gabriel knows. Ron back there knows. He's over there giggling a little bit. But nah, man, like when I was a junior, the competition at Brophy, like it was, the athletes were great. You know what I'm saying? The competitiveness, the hard work. I mean, it was all there. Now, when it came to my junior year, at the time I had been playing JV my sophomore year, and this year, obviously, I was going for varsity. And, you know, I was feeling great, bro. Like, even going into tryouts, everything, I was feeling amazing. Tryouts, I ended up killing it. And I was like, all right, cool. You know, like, this is the first step on my varsity journey. And what happened is, and we had a lot of talent. I won't lie about that. But what happened is, after the last day of tryouts, the head coach of the varsity team, he asked like two of us, me and another friend who I won't name on camera, but he asked both of us to talk to us individually. So I think my friend went in first. He came out after like 15 minutes, and I was just like, you know, I was like, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? I walk in, man, and it was him and both assistant coaches, and I started getting this feeling like, oh, damn, you know, what's going on? And, bro, like, long story short, it ended up being like a 10, 15-minute conversation. They cut me. And so that was tough, bro, because, like, not only did I, like, at the time I felt great and I felt confident, but then as soon as that happened, bro, I'm telling you, for the next month, 2 months, I was just feeling like, if you can take the word inadequate and just 10x it, that's how I was feeling, because I was like, bro, I felt like everything that I had worked for, it was just like that. You know what I'm saying? I had teammates, upperclassmen too, telling me like that they couldn't believe it, bro. And I mean, I couldn't believe it either, you know what I'm saying? And it was one of those things where it would have been easy for me to like point fingers, right? Be like, oh, coach don't like me. And all that could be true, man. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, there's certain things that happen in your life that are they're out of your control. You know what I'm saying? We were talking about, I think, last podcast, you were talking about input, I think you called it objections. Was that what it was?
Yeah, input objectives.
Yeah, objectives. There you go. And it's just like, once I realized that, though, and that took me a while, I realized, like, okay, there's a lot of things out of my control, but that moment, like, for sure, was one of the, like, bigger points of my life where I was, like, crushed. You know what I'm saying? Where I did feel inadequate, and then a couple months passed, just get back in the gym, and then the rest is history. You know what I'm saying? Everything went smooth from there, but no, at that moment, man, I was like, I felt like shit. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
That's actually a very unique story, because I didn't even, again, when we pregame these podcasts and we outline everything, never do I think about some of these factors that come into play. But you make a really good point about, it's not even necessarily a false confidence, because you were very confident in yourself and your skills obviously were there, but it's almost like when you feel that you're prepared and then it just don't happen. That's the toughest part to deal with. So I guess if you can dive a little deeper into, again, I don't want to call it false confidence, because it was very much warranted, but to feel like feel at peace, feel like you're prepared, and then get there and it falls short, and not even, once again, not based on your own measures because of what somebody else had put into place. How do you go about that? What's the mental road to getting back to where you need to be?
Yeah, so I'm gonna be honest, man. Like, when that happened, I was feeling like a bunch of different things. I was like, you know, disappointed. You could say I was sad. I was upset. All kinds of things, you know, were running through my head. And it sucked even more having people from the outside tell me like, yo, like, I can't believe it. You know, like it shouldn't have gone that way. But the reality is what's done is done, bro. You know what I'm saying? I can't go back and argue with the coach. What's done was done. And so real shit for the next 2 months, like what ended up happening is I ended up playing JV as a junior. And so what happened is the first month, right, I was like, yo, I don't even want to be here. I don't want to do this, feeling embarrassment, all this stuff, man. You know what I'm saying? But then after that month, I got over myself and I was like, you know what? Like being the best player on JV, like as a junior, it's nothing to be proud of. You know what I'm saying? For me personally, because I was like, it's not where I want to be. But what I ended up learning is that, like, you know, there's younger guys on this team who, you know, you talk about that word impact, right? And I started, once I got over myself, it took some time. But I was like, you know what? I can just come every day and show up and put the work in and try to help these younger guys out. Or the other option is just feeling sorry for myself and going the whole entire season just kind of like with my head down. You know what I'm saying? And so that process was tough, bro. I'm not going to lie. Like going to JV practices, watching film, like I said, like I just felt like all these different emotions every single day. But then at a certain point, I was like, you know what? Like, this is my situation. This is the reality. I can either quit the team. You know, I have options, but it's like one option is for me, I just couldn't stay like with my head hanging low and like feeling sorry for myself. I was like, I got to get something out of this to better myself. So I took the rest of the season, man. I played well. I worked harder, like in the, you know, the weight room and stuff. And like I said, from there, I was able to get over that. But it did take like some time. It took some work. You know what I'm saying? So
That's man. That's such a good, like I said, such a good example because once again, just like almost like your comment about the red pill community last podcast, that's just a scenario I never thought about. Like, dang, if you walk into an opportunity fully prepared, fully confident, and then to still miss out, how does that impact us? So I would ask, if that situation happened again today, knowing what you know now or having the skills or the mindset you have now, do you think that would impact your self-confidence at all?
knowing what I know now, I think in the moment, like right when it's happening, of course, like it would be kind of like, damn, you know, like it was at the time, but it would not last longer than a few days, maybe a week, just those. Because at the end of the day now, where I'm at in life is like I've been through things that are way more serious than that. Granted, I mean, basketball is a huge part of my life, but it's like I've been through things at this point in life that I'm like, all right, man, that was nothing. You know what I'm saying? So now, knowing everything that I know, I guess the skill sets I've built to handle like disappointing outcomes is just it'd be a lot different, man. Like it would be a shorter period of time. Like, yeah, I'd be feeling the same things, but to get over that hump and to just keep improving, it'd be a lot quicker for sure.
Yeah, bad. All right, so now we're gonna kind of change the tempo a bit. Do you think that it's possible to separate self-confidence from pride and ego? Because I feel like a lot of people almost get those two things mixed up and mashed together. Because granted, it is a lot of gray lines and it's a bit blurred in there, but there's a definite difference between self-confidence and then when you're allowing your pride and ego to kind of drive the ship. So, what's your take on that?
That's a good question, man. Well, I want to like hit you with a counter question just before I answer it. What do you define as ego? Like because what is the difference between ego and self-confidence? That's my question to you so that I can answer correctly. You know what I'm saying?
Man, y'all can't see my face, but hey, yo, that's a good day.
I'm just trying to break it down, bro, because
oh man, no, that was a great Uno reverse card. I'm not gonna lie. So if I had to let me think about this: self-confidence and ego. Okay, I would say let me say. So I would say self-confidence starts with just having a surety about yourself. Like you are certain about something, whether it's your abilities, about what you can do. That's all based on fact, right? I feel like ego is almost like a bloated version of that. It's all of the stuff that you opinionate or objectify or whatever. Because if we just think about self-confidence, like if you said, yo, I know I can go over there and I can half court shot, like right here, easy, right now. There's no arrogance, there's no ego. I can go do that. That's a fact. I think ego is like, Ego is, I dropped 40 last night, so I don't gotta pick up my own bag. I don't gotta pick up after myself. I don't gotta pick up trash. Whatever. So I think self confidence is fact. Ego is almost a bloated version that we almost beautify to make things better than they actually are.
That's a perfect definition, bro. That's actually better than I could have described it. Now, if you don't mind, though, because I was listening to you define both, you got to repeat your question because I kind of.
Oh, I said, is it possible to separate self confidence and pride and ego? Because, like I said, I think those kind of get mashed up.
Yes, I would say definitely yes, because I mean, here's my thing too. I think the best example I think of is like when I go to the gym to lift weights, like any commercial gym or just any gym in general. Yeah. Bro, there's dudes in there who are like 3 times my size. I could tell, or at least I assume they've been lifting for years. Like this is their. And granted, I may not know these dudes, but when I talk to some of them and I end up getting to know them, like, yo, this dude just works hard and he's confident. And there's a difference in that versus him, like you just said, like being that dude who thinks that, he's invincible or he's better than other people. But there's a lot of leaders, whether it's weightlifters, coaches, there's a lot of people who are great at what they do. They're confident. They're, what I'm saying, especially as men. That's a huge thing too, is like what makes you confident? Like why do you call yourself a man? Things like that. But there's a difference in that versus just like you're just walking around like you're better than everybody. You act like you're better than everybody. You act like you're almighty and high. You know what I'm saying? And then you have the person who, like I said, the weightlifter who's been in there for years. He's huge. I mean, he looks great. He's confident. It seems like he can kind of handle whatever comes his way, but he doesn't put other people down. He doesn't put, I love when I see like experienced weightlifters and like, it's content sometimes, but they'll kind of be encouraging like dudes who just started in the gym, like who are looking like just super skinny, man. You know what I'm saying? And I've been that person, especially in high school. I was skinny, like, but then it was the people who like never put me down, who were 10 times ahead of me. There's like, yo, like this dude's confident, but he's not, there's nothing wrong with that. He doesn't have an ego. He doesn't have like this, I'm better than you mentality. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's good. I do think it's possible as well. But now, follow-up question. So now that we know that we can separate the two, how do you protect your self-confidence without bloating your ego?
So I'm gonna be honest, bro. When I've been the most confident just in my life and just even in basketball, we can take it there again. Like there will be those moments where it's just like you're being so consistent and you're seeing the results you want to see so much, like that confidence comes up. I can't lie though, there's been times where I let my ego get the best of me. Like I start, like chatting with somebody on the court or whatever. Even then it's like that's little, those are small instances, but it happens, you know what I'm saying? But I think just being able to realize and continue to like remind yourself and be accountable and be like, yo, you know what? Like, for example, it's with anything else. Like, was I being like a dickhead during that moment? Was I being, you know what I'm saying? Was I being ignorant in that moment? Because, bro, we're human, bro. We're going to make mistakes. I've heard even like Mike Tyson, bro, one of the like craziest fighters I've ever seen in history. And he's even talked about, he's like, when I was a fighter, I was very confident, but I did have an ego, just naturally. I mean, when you're that, bro, think about it, his status, how good he was at the sport, like, I guess the rewards you could even say, like we're all human, bro. We all like to sit here and say like, oh, if I had 10 mil and if I had this, but if you don't have it, you don't know what that's like. You know what I'm saying? So I think just to come back to your question, I think that it's going to happen. You're going to have those moments regardless. We're human. But to protect it, you got to continue to be accountable and remind yourself like, yo, like I'm messing up here. I'm being ignorant here. And then you can still be confident. You know what I'm saying? But you have to be accountable for the ego part too.
Absolutely. I would piggyback off that and say I think to sustain your self-confidence is to stay true to you. Because I think a lot of times when we experience failure or we experience those feelings of inadequacy, our first thought is either to go compare ourselves, to say what we're not doing, what we should be doing. And it's all based on what we see. And so I think the more you stay true to yourself, the easier it is, not necessarily to be in like this box where you're isolated and you don't take anybody else's opinion into account or anybody else's ideas or constructive criticism, whatever, but just at least at the root of it saying, is this a part of the goal that I have for myself? And if it's not, do I need to change the goal? Do I need to like at least taking these these changes in these, I would say these thoughts or whatever opinions that people give you, and actually digesting them. Because sometimes people gonna give you stuff where it's just like, all right, that's complete BS. We go, that's their opinion and they're entitled to that. But I know that's not me. Because I think a lot of us will also go to the point where we're trying to defend ourselves and defend who we are. And it's like, bro, it's not necessary. Not everybody gonna like you. I would even go as far as to say, there's this quote that everyone loves to say where it's like, comparison is the thief of joy. I don't remember who the author is, but I will go as far as to say that comparison will rob you of your powers. And what I mean by that is, I went back and I was reading the story of David. I went back and started in 1 Samuel. Samuel, for those who don't know, was essentially like a high priest. So the children of Israel don't have any kings at this point. They've been saved from Egypt and all that sort of stuff. And so he's actually primarily like the ruler. He's honestly sort of like their connector to God, if that's how you want to put it. And so what happens is Samuel's brought up, and he's literally led in the church. And then he has sons. Now, these sons that he has, they are not like him at all. They're over here being destructive, doing all these things they shouldn't be doing a bunch of sinful stuff, taking bribes, all this other stuff. And so essentially what the children of Israel do is they begin to compare themselves with everybody else around them. They're like, hey, we want a king. And so what happens when they ask for a king is they essentially rejected God. Because like, I'm the ruler over you. I'm the one who's protecting you. I'm the one who's providing all this. And you, because these people haven't done what they're supposed to do, you no longer have faith in me, but you're going to completely throw me away and try to be like everybody else. That's what you want. And so I say that to say, part of that comparison, right, came from what they saw. But by trying to be like somebody else, they rejected their own blessings. They rejected their own purpose. Something that, again, God had ordained. I'm going to be the ruler over you. I'm going to bless you with X, Y, and Z. But you want to throw that away because it doesn't look the way you want it to look. And now you want to be like everybody else. And so to finish the story, Saul is made king. But then at some point, God tells him to go and destroy the city. He's like, completely destroy it. Don't keep nothing. He goes and destroys the city. He spares the king. He keeps the king. And him and his people all go in and keep the best of the spoil. So like sheep, cattle, jewels, all that stuff. And their reasoning was that we are going to offer sacrifices to God because that's a ritual. That's what's norm. But what happens is Samuel comes. He's essentially given instructions by God. Like he's told all this by God. And he comes up to Saul. Is like, what have you done? He was like, what do you mean? What have I done? He's like, weren't you supposed to go and destroy, I think they call the Amalekites? And he was like, yeah, I did. He's like, well, what is this I hear of all like these sheep yelling or whatever noises he heard, and what God has shown me? He was like, well, I kept the best of what was supposed to be kept because we were trying to offer sacrifices. And Samuel then says, he was like, does God not, again, I'm paraphrasing, but he essentially says, does God not value obedience over rituals? And his reasoning, once again, so Saul immediately reasons. He was like, but I'm just doing what, was supposed to be done, da-da-da. Literally the exact words, and I don't care what version of the Bible you read, it says, please forgive me for I feared the voice of the people. And because he feared not fitting in, because he feared not heeding the voice of the people around him, he rejected the instruction he was given. He rejected his own purpose to be like them. And so to anybody who watches this, I would sit here and tell you that if you are trying to establish your self-confidence, do not go outside the world looking for something that's inside you. Well said. You have to wholeheartedly believe that, and you have to stand on that regardless of what happens, because at some point, if you give that up, you are literally forfeiting your blessings. You are forfeiting your purpose. You are forfeiting what you are put on earth to do, to go and try to be like everybody else because you think they have it figured out. So I would go as far as to say that as well. But don't just completely disregard criticism or instructions or anything else. Take it, process it, and then you can decide what to do from there. I think that's the best way to keep self-confidence, but also keep your ego in check too. So
that's well said, bro. Just to kind of add to that too, I was thinking about like how you said not trying to fit in, not necessarily going like looking for external things to bring that self-confidence, because at the end of the day, like, that was my thing too. As a youngster, I mean, we're still young, but just, yeah, as a young person, like I I'll see certain things like once, twice, maybe 3 times, like certain lifestyles or certain, these kids were doing these things and this was popular and bro, I swear to God, like I was always just kind of swaying like this, like just back and forth, just instead of holding my own 2 feet and saying, and as a kid it's hard, but like the older you get, you really have to like put 10 toes on the ground and be like, you have to ask yourself, like break it down all the way to like the very beginning, like who am I? Like what is it that what are my interests? What are my what do I care about? You know what I'm saying? Who do I care about? And then you can even flip those questions like, what do I not care about? What do I want to avoid? Like, and it's hard, man. Like it's hard, especially when you are used to, and I'll just speak from personal experience. Like I'm used to kind of, like doing things how like someone else would do them, or just looking at someone and then going that exact way, copying it, almost trying to copy it. When in reality, it's like I was the least confident at those times because I had no sense of identity. I had no sense of self. I had no sense of purpose, none of that. But then I started going outside that and looking inward, and that's when things just started to, everything changed. Like it changed my whole life, to be honest with you. And that was when I was like 18, turning 19. That's kind of when that journey started for me. But yeah, man, just kind of add to what you were saying.
That's good. Like I said, man, all this stuff is these are real life experiences. We ain't making this stuff up. This isn't learned by reading some book. I mean, you can read the Bible and obviously learn some of the stuff, but it is all kind of based off experience, because that's the way you're going to learn anyways through life. So I do want y'all to know we keeping this 100% authentic. I'm not trying to sit here and make up stories and whatever. But okay, so now we've talked about self-confidence a bit. Let's dive a little bit into ego. Has there ever been a point where you were overconfident about something, or kind of got into that arrogance realm, and maybe that didn't sit the best for you?
It's funny, man, like the way that I was brought up and just my family, I was I would say that, so I wouldn't say it was in the most healthy way, but I was always taught to be kind of what you were touching on, like obedient, respectful, nice, all these things, right? Now you dive deeper into that the older you get, especially as a man, you realize that like being a good man is different than necessarily like being a nice man. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to like, you kind of give and take. But my point with that is that I think that because I came up in that environment, it was hard for me to find myself. Like I said, it happened late 18, 19. So that's when the confidence started to really kick in. So I don't have many instances where I'd say like I was overconfident, but the times that I was, I think that was like, those were big learning lessons for me too, because it's like, and granted, right, it's not always bad to be super confident, but you have to realize that like confidence doesn't necessarily come from outcomes. It comes from, again, I'm gonna come back to this because I love what you said, the input objectives, how hard you go, is it true to you? And then everything else, man, is like it's outside your control. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I would answer that, is just that the times that I've been overconfident is that I just ended up learning like I have to accept whatever outcome, whether good or bad. And then I still got to keep pushing. I still got to decide like, okay, I don't know. I guess a good example would be like, say I come into some money or something, like a check hits and biggest check I've ever gotten, good money. And I'm like, oh, cool. You know what I'm saying? I'm super confident now because of the money. But then it's like, what happens when I hit a point in life, and I've hit these points before, is like all that money is just gone. And then it's like, then what? Like, were you ready for that? Were you ready to accept something like that? Or were you just so caught up in that moment, so overconfident that killed like the way that you continue to move forward, if that makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I would piggyback off that. And although I was raised in a household very similar, where you had to, be respectful and be obedient, all those things, a very traditional home. I certainly had an ego, especially as a kid. Man, I ain't gonna lie to you. They used to tell me, what was it? I used to have a very smart mouth. I used to always had something to say. Yeah. So they used to tell me, "Oh, you're gonna talk to the wrong person one day." Da, da, da. I had to think. Thankfully, man, I never got popped in the mouth by somebody I didn't know. But eventually, like that made me have to look inside, and I feel like I've always had moments in my life where I had to check myself. So even within these recent couple years and couple months, that ego is slowly going away. And the Bible talks about that the Lord will destroy the house of the proud. And I was very prideful in what I was doing. And I had an ego. It was like, I'm not going to do this and I'm not going to do that, which is why it's so big for me to serve because I remember there was stuff I wanted to do for my dad. He would ask me, oh, can you do this for me? And I'd be like, you going to pay me? Like, bro, it's your father who sacrificed so much for you, and I'm over here worrying about $20. Like, so certainly I had an ego, but like I said, it's gonna catch up to you one way or another. And thankfully, I keep my ears open a bit more now, and I'm not so set in stone. A specific event I could give is so going back to the car rental thing I mentioned earlier. 2 of the cars I bought from an auction. I really did because I was being impatient. And instead of heeding the voice of everybody who I was talking with, I was just like, you know, man, it says it runs and drives. I get all this other stuff. I just bought them. I'm like, I don't get this one, I get that one. Have been the worst decisions I have ever made, bro. Neither one of them cars run right now. Let me say this. One did, and that's why we're going back and forth with this mechanic company because they did some faulty stuff. But the other one, shoot, I'm not a mechanic. I'm learning to take apart an engine and all this other stuff to figure out what's wrong with it. So, yeah, man, if I could tell anybody anything is to just slow down and constantly reflect, bro. Constantly surround yourself with people who are not just going to tell you what you want to hear, but tell you what you need to hear when you need to hear it. Because the more you open your ears, the more you listen, you can honestly avoid a lot of this mess that some of us are in. So, yeah, man, my ego has certainly put me in some bad spots for sure.
No, I hear you, bro. I may be misquoting this. I don't remember the exact percentage, but I think when it comes to, like, communication, there's a statistic, I think, that's like 80% or 70% of communication is done with your ears. Something like that. And I was just, when I heard that, I was like, what does that even mean, you know? And it's just like I started realizing, like, oh, you know, maybe I should listen more. Maybe I should reflect more. Maybe I should learn more. And then, like, you know what I'm saying, take action based on that versus just thinking, like, oh, I already know what's good. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to be honest, bro. Like, so back in October of 2023, so not too long ago, like, that's when I started getting into like clothing, fashion, and stuff. And I started with graphic T-shirts, man. Like, I think not everybody starts there, but a lot of people start there because, again, it looks poppin', trendy. It's the barrier to entry is not that high. Anyone can download Photoshop and learn it. But the problem was, like, I was like, oh man, like, I already know, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna make a Kobe shirt or something like that. Like I'm being real. Like, I'm gonna make something and it's just gonna blow up and it's gonna go crazy. And it's like, bro, several things wrong with that, right? One, any great business or just great anything that's worthwhile, it takes time to build, bro. Years. Like, I'm talking not just businesses, but even families, relationships, like everything that's, you know, ends up being great. It takes time. It's brick by brick, day by day. So that was one thing. And then two, it was like, bro, I didn't even have the knowledge to, because that's when I started, you know, I met you. And I started realizing, like, you know what, I don't even really want to make graphic T-shirts. I want to make, you know, like real clothes, put real stuff together. And so it was just that, man, admitting to myself that, like, there's a lot of shit that I don't know yet. I got to go learn it. And I have to, you know, I gotta crawl before I walk. You know what I'm saying? And that, at first, it kind of knocked my confidence. But then I was like, bro, there's nothing to be less confident about. It's just realizing that there's a lot more work to be done before I can really say, like, I've mastered this or I'm great at this. You know what I'm saying? Because another thing too, and I don't know why I thought about this, but it's just like, again, with basketball, it's like, bro, you watch Kobe Bryant, and I'm not just talking about playing. Like, when he speaks, he talks about, he's like, yeah, you know, like, I just realized that if I wake up at 4 or I wake up at 5, then I can train, eat breakfast, train again, eat lunch, train again, like, on a daily basis. And I'm just listening to this for the first time. I'm like, yo, who thinks like this? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is insane. But then you realize, like, that's what it takes, though. And I think he talked a lot about accountability. He's like, I'm my harshest critic, but I'm also, like, the most confident. You know, like, I believe in myself the most. Because I mean, at that point, man, when you're putting in that kind of work too, like, you deserve to reap that self-confidence and you know, whatever comes with that. Now, when it comes to the ego, again, like we were talking about, that's a little different. That's when things can start to, I mean, you've seen it even with Mike Tyson, bro. I think he had 60 mil at one point, and he lost it all. And he even said he'll tell you, like, now in his old age, he's like, I was partying and I was traveling and I was buying stuff, like, just, and I thought that, I was the man. I mean, he was the man, but it's like 60 mil, bro. Yeah. Imagine that. Like, dog, I'd be complaining about $20, bro. 60 M's, I'd be sick. Like, you know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah, no, that's good. There's a couple things I want to hit on. First, I'm going to ask this question on pod. Yeah. Have you made something with this sewing machine? They don't need to know the backstory, just the sewing machine. Have you done something with it? Now, right. I feel like I know the answer because it has been a crazy, hectic time.
It has. So short answer, no. Okay. Long answer, though. I opened it up and I started looking into, I think it comes with like classes and stuff. Yeah. So now, bro, I literally just got to go get the fabric, go get whatever, and just start doing it. You know what I'm saying? I had told you, though, that I just settled into my grandma's and stuff. I was moving out and stuff. So next pod, though, bro, there's no excuse, bro. I'm gonna have something for you.
I'm aware. Start with like tailoring some pants or something, bro. Like you can start real simple. You ain't even gotta like go buy something. You can start in your closet, find something you don't wear or that don't fit right, and figure out how to fix it. But on top of that, this is kind of off topic, but I used to hate Kobe Bryant when I was younger. I couldn't even understand why until when I got into like high school and I started to become like a real student of the game, and I understood like his impact on it, how hard he worked, and random fact. But what was I gonna say? There was something about, you mentioned something about what was it? I know it was something about this ego portion, man. I'm trying to think. No, it wasn't Kobe, bro. I know. I should have said what I had to say about Kobe. It wasn't specifically. No, it was. What did you end on? It was something you ended with. Oh yes, Mike Tyson, 60 mil. Dang, no, it was about that, but now I can't get my thought together. You know what, man? Anyways, as far as like the whole ego thing goes, I guess what would you offer to someone about how to stay even keel? So once again, not trying to get too low on yourself, but also not getting too high where that ego's in play.
What I would say, and this is coming from like a personal like experience kind of viewpoint, is that I've never had like this crazy ego, and I think that's because of my lack of self-confidence coming up. But then when I did have the confidence, I was like, okay, now I understand what it means to have ego at certain points. So I would say to stay kind of even is just, like I had said earlier, honestly, being accountable. It's like realizing that whatever gift you have, whatever skill set you have, whatever you're great at and you're doing, bro, be the greatest at it. You know what I'm saying? Be like Kobe, I just talked about, like working 3 times a day. Be obsessed with it. Like nothing wrong with that at all. That's you versus you. That's you and you. Like that's, to me, it's a beautiful thing. But then when it comes to outside of that, you got to realize too, an example I'm thinking of now too is like a UFC fighter. It's like, bro, the average person, like anywhere, they would probably just mop the floor with them. They could do bad things, but there's guys who they train every day. They're great at the sport. But they don't walk around looking for fights. They don't look to instigate things. They're humble. You know what I'm saying? They have that humility. They have that, I guess you call it restraint. But I would say just remind yourself of the blessings, one, and also the reason that you're doing something that you may be great at in the first place. Yeah. Like even Kobe, man, like he was one of the best and he was competitive, but I don't think I would go as far as to say is he was always looking to make an impact through that competitiveness on his teammates, his opponents, just the game of basketball. He respected the game, and he made an impact on the game for a reason. You know what I'm saying? I don't think it was ego-driven. Even Mike Tyson now, like look at him, like he's able to admit, like yes, years later after his career, but he's been admitting this for years now. Like he realized it, and he took the accountability. So I think accountability is huge, and just reminding yourself of the blessings and the gifts you have. They're meant for a certain reason, but they're not meant to go step on other people or harm other people. So that's what I would say, man. I would just kind of try to tell people to keep that in mind.
Yeah, that's actually perfect because it reminded me what I was trying to say earlier. Yeah. I'm looking at this camera, and I want to make sure that whoever's listening or watching that you pay attention here. Remember that you are human and not God. I think a lot of times when we get so wrapped up in what we've accomplished and how well we do things that we think all of a sudden we're this almighty power that has control over any and everything. And that's not true. Like, I don't think anyone wants to admit that regardless of how successful you are, it took other people, or it took like an opportunity, a chance. I don't even want to say luck, because once again, I don't believe in that. I believe in someone who's ordained your steps. But like, it took some divine intervention to get to where you are, regardless of how you look at it. That's even as far as to go being born in a certain era. Like, you born a couple years earlier or later, you may not be who you are. So, remember, you are human and not God. Like, you got to always remember that. I don't care how successful you get. I don't care how much money you have. Right. But in humanity, you're going to make mistakes. You're not going to be perfect. You are going to struggle at times. You're going to also excel at times. But if you always keep in mind that, hey, I'm human, this is the process, then you always going to do well. And even to go back to your whole thing about staying true to you and building it. I know I mentioned it last part, but I'll mention it again here for those who didn't tune into that. We can all think about trees, how tall they are. It doesn't matter whether it's a fruit tree or it's a tree that just provides shade and it's super big. It starts as a seed. It starts as something as simple as the plants that are behind us. And over time, you nurture and you grow it, and it goes through different phases. It starts to sprout a little bit, then it builds a trunk, and then it starts to branch and vine. But before it gets to its maximum potential, where it can not only provide shelter or food for more than just itself, it starts as a seed. And so you have to be confident in whatever phase of life you're in, whether you're at the sprouting stage, whether you're at just the seed stage, whether you've built a trunk now and now you're starting to sprout and get vines. Be confident in that. Don't look over and see somebody else. Oh, man, they got like 100 oranges on that tree, bro. I only got 5. Like, I ain't even there yet. I'm not bearing fruit yet. It's a process, bro. And if you consistently nurture and water it, bro, you'll eventually be where they're at too. So, like I said, man, don't what is it? Reject your will, your purpose, and try to be somebody else.
Oh, man, I love that. Especially, we're all human, man. We're not. It's funny, too. Like, this is going to sound so goofy, man. But the other night, I was driving home, and I was just, like, having this moment. Like, I was feeling good and stuff. I've never done this, bro, but it was like a note to self. I literally, like, went on my voice memo app, and I just started having a conversation with myself. I know that sounds so crazy. I know it sounds so wild, but I just took a couple minutes, and I was just kind of talking to myself about how I feel. You know what I'm saying? And just, like, but I was telling myself, I was like, man, like, I'm not, like, I feel great right now, and I feel confident, and I'm excited for the future, and I think there's these opportunities. But I told myself, I was like, I'm not better than nobody. I'm not bigger than God. I'm not bigger than the next. I'm not gonna cuss again on camera, but I'm not bigger than the next person. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, because I like, you have to remind yourself sometimes too. Like, it's okay to be proud and like succeed and do all that. That's amazing. But like, again, too, I think that, and I've been this guy, bro, like when I was younger, like, okay, I got some money, or okay, I got some, whatever it is, like some women around me, like just thinking that I'm him, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, bro, one, I'm not him. I'm just another dude, you know what I'm saying? And two, it's like, that whole God complex, and that it's just, we're not invincible, bro. And not at all, you know what I'm saying? I don't think we're supposed to be like invincible or supposed to be these God-like figures. Like, even with celebrities and athletes, like, bro, I respect all of them. I do, but then I also gotta like be realistic. It's like, they're human too, bro. They do things the same way we do. Now, they might do some things better. They might do some things at a different pace for sure. They might have like that material success, whatever it is, man. And I respect all that, but it's just like, you can't. It's just not a good thing to idolize, I don't think, anybody. You know what I'm saying? Because then. Or anything, yeah, exactly. Because then it just kind of, it will break your self-confidence. It will break, it just breaks a lot of things, and I think it can turn into just very negative feelings, connotations. It just becomes, man. I've been down that path too. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to add that, but.
Hey, man, let me dap you up, bro. Cause hey, I'm not gonna lie, I did just like the other day or week. I think I made a voice memo to myself, so heavy on that. I recommend it. You recommend it. Go try it out for yourself. Bro. But man, round of applause once again. Episode 3, man. We are being consistent. We showing up. It's crazy,
honest, bro.
Yeah, no, it's crazy that we're dang near halfway through January. But man, I hope whoever's tuning in, I don't know who's gonna be watching this or listening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, man, trust your journey. That's it. So
for sure, bro.
It's your boy G.
It's your boy E.
We signing out, man. Catch you on the next one.
Yes, sir. That was good, bro.